Welcome to Chautauqua. Tonight, Harry S. Truman's going to be right here on the stage telling us how he became president, how he changed the world. You'll be able to talk to him, ask him questions, and have a great time. Opening music by J. Michael King doing Truman a la King. So join us and enter inside.
America needs you, Harry Truman. Harry, could you please come home? Things are getting bad. I know you'd be real mad to see the kind of man who prevail upon this land you love. Well, America's wondering how we got here. Harry, all we can do is rise. We're getting safe cars and rocket ships tomorrow. From men who sell us out, get themselves a little piece of power. Well, we'd love to hear you speak out in your plain and simple way. Call a spade like you did back in the day when you would play piano and a mile every day. And tell us about what was going down in your...
My pleasure to introduce to you that gentleman from Missouri, President of the United States, Harry Truman.
Thank you, and all the way from South Carolina. Well, you're especially welcome. It's a long way to Independence, Missouri, in the western part of the state, from South Carolina, so you're welcome. I would have been here sooner, but I was out walking, and you can't walk in this town anymore without getting somebody to pick you up and take you where they think you ought to go. But the Secret Service people are very companionable. They get tired pretty early during my walks, but they accompany me. And anyway, I'm not up to my old Army pace of 120 steps a minute. But I'm not in a hurry. She was the first person to greet me in retirement. She said, "How do you do, Mr. Citizen?" I like the sound of it, Mr. Citizen. I use it as the title of a book I've written about what goes on in the mind of a retired president. Well, people are curious, you know, and they ask. I come here to the office almost every day. I answer the mail. I read, not to. And then it occurred to me to do it just before 11 o'clock on Sunday morning, when people were going by on their way to church. "What do you think you're doing?" Bess called out. "Just what you told me to." I was never asked to cut the grass. Things worth learning are things you learn after you know it all. Really, politics is the art and science. It takes a politician to run a government. Huh? A statesman? A statesman's just a politician who's been dead 10 or 15 years. Why, even I know they'll never make a statesman out of it. But I'm perfectly content to be known as a politician. And as I say, I know politics from precinct to president. We're badly divided in 1948. That was the year when Henry Wallace, FDR's vice president just before me, he split off and ran on the progressive ticket. Strom Thurmond, the governor of South Carolina, he headed up the Dixiecrat ticket because he disagreed with my civil rights platform. You remember the Great Depression? Huh? And how the Democrats with FDR turned that around and turned it into the most prosperous time this country's ever seen? Yeah, give him hell, Harry. And there I did mention Dewey by name. I said, Governor Dewey, who won't talk issues, reminds me of a doctor, or the doctor, who said to his patient, in for his every 4-year checkup. Say, you don't look too good. Really, Doc? I never felt better in my life. Never had so much money, never had a brighter future. What's wrong, Doc? Is it serious? Doctor says, oh, I never discuss issues with the patient. But you need an operation. We need to take the whole works out and replace it with a Republican administration. And I was asked to make my first decision as president. As Steve Early said, the press wants to know if the first meeting of the United Nations will be held in San Francisco as scheduled in just 12 days. I looked up at Woodrow Wilson's portrait on the wall. The answer is yes. We shall, in all probability, in 4 months, have completed the most terrible weapon in human history. One bomb of which could destroy a whole city. I don't remember what it was, to the Pope. And Stalin said, and just how many divisions does the Pope have? By that one question, he betrayed the crassest ignorance of history, misjudging the real sources of power, namely the mind and spirit of man. Best thing we did in Europe after the war was the Marshall Plan. Playing negotiations with the Russians. I'm tired of babying the Soviets. I got emergency aid for Greece and Turkey as part of a policy of containment of the Soviet minimum wage. Full employment, a better chance for labor to bargain collectively, a farm bill, a bill that would provide prepaid medical insurance, an expansion of Social Security, housing construction, there hadn't been any since before the war, and slum clearance. When I read that soldiers just back from abroad were dumped out of Army vehicles in Mississippi and beaten. And I had a like reaction when my Civil Rights Commission reported the story of a young sergeant dressed in his Army uniform. Isaac Woodward was his name. Pulled from a bus in Batesburg, South Carolina, and beaten and blinded by policemen who smashed their nightsticks into his eye. But Congress would do nothing. Senator James Eastland, for example, invoked a filibuster. He declared that if my legislation, proposed legislation, was right, then John C. Calhoun and Jeff Davis were wrong. The Republicans in Congress were so dead certain that Tom Dewey was going to get the White House back for them that they voted an unheard of $80,000 for an elaborate inaugural. And we Democrats spent every one of those $80,000 Republican dollars. Oh, I listened to MacArthur's supporters and my critics. They said, take a chance on widening the war. Take a chance we won't have the Third World War. I said, that's playing Russian roulette with all the chambers in the pistol loaded. I'm not going to take a chance with war and peace on a fool basis like that. That's not policy. An epitaph in a cemetery in Tombstone, Arizona. It reads, here lies Jack Williams. He done his damnedest. I've done my damnedest too.
And now, ladies and gentlemen,